So I've lived by Carlsbad and Oceanside, California for pretty much my whole life, and they're definitely similar in a few ways, but trust me when I say this, they couldn't be more different. And that's why I'm breaking down exactly what it's like living here, which means the neighborhoods, the home prices, lifestyle, schools, and all the pros and cons you're not gonna find on Google. So let me show you around, and then make sure you leave a comment down below on which one you think is better. So both Carlsbad and Oceanside are in the very northern part of San Diego, and things are gonna feel a little bit different up here. There's a lot more suburbs, it's gonna be much more family oriented, and everything's gonna be way more spread out. So going to the gym or out to the store, maybe dropping your kids off at school, you're gonna be driving almost everywhere. And San Diego is a very car-centric place to live in general, and most families have at least 2 cars here, so it's just a part of daily life around here. Now, most of the people living in Carlsbad and Oceanside are younger families, or at this point, there's even a lot of empty nesters. So it's mostly people who want to escape that hustle and grind, and they want to get a little bit more space and have more room for the kids to run around and play. And I actually have a buyer who reached out to me on one of my other videos, and he and his wife are in their early 40s. They have 2 little kids, and he's relocating from San Francisco. And these are the exact 2 cities that he's considering. So I thought I'd make a video and share what these 2 places are like. So if you're thinking of relocating, or you're not super familiar with North County, San Diego, and you want some more information, then there's a link in the description to my calendar where you can book a call, or you can just email, call, or text me. Now, one thing that I mentioned to him that's pretty similar in both of these cities is the marine layer. And most people hear about San Diego and they just think it's always sunny here, but trust me, it's not always like that. Now, we do get a lot of warm, sunny days here, but be ready for a lot of gloomy mornings, up to 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or sometimes even all day long, especially if you live 5 to 10 minutes from the coast, because that's actually where it's going to be the worst. All right, so both the location and the climate are going to be pretty similar with these 2, but let's switch it up and talk about all the things that are different. And trust me, there's a lot of them. So first off, home prices. Now, the median home price of a detached home in Carlsbad is $1.85 million, and in Oceanside, it's $963,000. So that's just about double. And condos and townhomes in Carlsbad are $925,000, and in Oceanside, they're $625,000, which is about a 50% price difference. So people that are priced out of Carlsbad, usually the next place that they're gonna look is Oceanside, because it's still one of the last more affordable cities in San Diego. Now, of course, there's more expensive parts of Oceanside like Fire Mountain and South Oceanside where you're gonna pay about $1.5 to $2 million. And I know that probably seems like a lot, but you can hardly find a house in any part of Carlsbad for under $1.2 million. So that's why a lot of young families are considering Oceanside right now, especially first-time home buyers, because it's just an easier market to break into. And I had a couple not too long ago who were absolutely set on buying a house in Carlsbad. They were first-time buyers, late 30s, and they were approved up to $1.2 million. And on paper, they thought Carlsbad was completely doable. But once we actually started looking at houses, everything under $1.2 million in Carlsbad either needed major work or the price was getting pushed up to $1.25, $1.3 million with multiple offers. So after a couple of weeks of showings and losing out on a property that went $40,000 over the asking price, we actually shifted our search to Oceanside, and immediately their options doubled. Now, instead of a fixer-upper, they were now looking at 1,400 to 1,700 square foot homes, move-in ready in nice neighborhoods, and they're still only 10 to 15 minutes from the beach. So if your budget's under that $1.5 million mark, then you're gonna have a lot more options in Oceanside. But look, both of these markets are still very competitive right now, especially because inventory is so low, and anything that's priced right and move-in ready is still probably gonna get multiple offers, especially anything that's under $2 million in Carlsbad and anything under 1.1 million in Oceanside. All right, now let's talk about the lifestyle differences. So one of the biggest ones is just the overall vibe of these 2 places. So when people ask me to compare them, I always say that Carlsbad's more upscale and polished, while Oceanside's more of an edgy surf town. Now, there's a lot more established professionals that live in Carlsbad, and there's a huge corporate hub in the middle of the city. So that brings in a lot of medical and biotech companies to the area, and a lot more of those higher paying jobs. It also feels newer around here, so all the roads and landscaping is maintained, and there's these nice wide roads pretty much anywhere you go. Now, most of these neighborhoods are master planned communities with tons of amenities, parks, hiking trails, and the beaches in Carlsbad are some of my favorite ones in San Diego. There's also a few upscale shopping plazas, and one of my favorite ones is the Forum. They have places like Lululemon, Vuori, and a great restaurant called the Henry just opened. So if you're looking for a really nice dinner spot, then you should definitely check it out. Now, speaking of restaurants, there's 2 new spots that were named in the top 10 of the most beautiful restaurants that opened in America in 2025. So that just goes to show you the type of direction that Carlsbad's going in, and it seems like they're focused on a higher end clientele. Now there's some parts of Oceanside that still feel a little bit left behind, especially around the Tri-City area. Most of these houses are in need of major repairs and renovations, but the good news is that they're slowly getting remodeled and improved. But I will say that Oceanside's changed a lot in the last 10 years, especially in the downtown and south end of the city. Now there's a lot of young professionals moving to downtown Oceanside because it's just a lot more affordable, and the monthly rent in Oceanside's $400 cheaper than in Carlsbad, so they're saving money and getting a similar beach lifestyle. So this area really caters to a younger demographic, and it just feels a little bit less polished, and that's honestly part of its charm. Now I will say that it's starting to feel a little bit more upscale around here, especially with this new development that's taking over the old Regal movie theater. There's going to be over 300 new residential units, and this is right in the heart of downtown. And with all this new development around here, it definitely feels more cramped compared to downtown Carlsbad. So with 2 new massive hotels, big apartment buildings, and more people living here, the traffic is pretty heavy. Also, parking is a big issue, and if you don't have a designated parking spot, it's almost impossible to find street parking. All right, now let's switch gears to one of my favorite topics, which is restaurants and dining. And I gotta say that Carlsbad and Oceanside are very different. But again, they really cater to 2 different demographics. So Carlsbad has more steakhouses, wine bars, and just a more refined date night type of environment. Whereas Oceanside has more taco spots, burgers, breweries, rooftop bars, and just more of a laid back type of eateries. So you'll see that even the restaurants in Carlsbad cater to more of a higher end clientele, but in Oceanside, they kind of go for that younger crowd that wants to hop around downtown and try a bunch of new places. So if you're more of a fine dining type of person, then you're gonna resonate more with Carlsbad. But if you're more of a casual tacos and brewery type of person, then definitely it's gonna be Oceanside. But what's awesome is that it doesn't matter where you live because they're literally right next to each other, so it's super easy to change it up. And I find myself doing this all the time. So sometimes we'll go to Carlsbad, especially Nick's on State, which is probably one of my favorite restaurants in the village right now. But other times when I want a really good burger and I just want to hang out and watch some sports, we'll actually go over to Tanner's in South Oceanside, which is honestly one of the best smash burgers in San Diego. So definitely give these 2 a try if you're ever in the area. But if you want more recommendations, just let me know and I'll get you a list of restaurants. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the neighborhoods. So just by driving around, you're going to see how these are 2 completely different lifestyles. Now, if you like having big master plan communities with all kinds of amenities like parks, pools, then hands down, Carlsbad is where you want to look. They have some of the best relatively new communities in all of North County, San Diego. They have La Costa, Aviara, and one of my favorite ones is Bresci Ranch, which is basically the ultimate master plan community. They have 7 different parks, a resort style pool and clubhouse, and the best part is that they have a small shopping plaza right in the middle of it all. Now, another big thing with Carlsbad is how all the neighborhoods feel really consistent. And what I mean by that is you don't see a huge difference from street to street, and one block isn't going to be way nicer than the next. Most areas feel well maintained, clean, and predictable, which a lot of buyers really like because it feels safe and stable. So you can't really go wrong with any neighborhood in Carlsbad. Now, on the other hand, Oceanside's way more neighborhood to neighborhood, and 2 areas that are only a mile apart can feel completely different. For example, you've got coastal pockets like South Oceanside, Fire Mountain, and areas around downtown Oceanside where you're going to see older beach cottages, mid-century homes, smaller lots, and just a lot of character. And these neighborhoods feel way more organic because they weren't master planned all at once and they slowly grew over time. So you get much more charm, more variety in architecture, and more individuality from house to house. Then you've got inland Oceanside in areas like Rancho del Oro, Ivy Ranch, and even parts of North Valley that feel much more suburban and closer to what you're going to expect in Carlsbad. So more tract homes, cul-de-sacs, and more amenities for the people that live there. But even in those neighborhoods, Oceanside still feels more relaxed and less perfect than Carlsbad, and for a lot of people, they actually don't mind that. Now, another big difference is HOAs. So Carlsbad has a lot more HOA communities, and parts of Oceanside have them too, but you're going to find a lot more non-HOA neighborhoods in Oceanside. But even if they do have an HOA, it's usually only $100 or $200 a month, so it's really not that bad. All right, so just to bring it all together, it really comes down to your personality and lifestyle when you're picking between these 2. If you love the idea of polished, master planned neighborhoods where everything looks similar and feels predictable, well then Carlsbad's probably going to be your sweet spot. But if you like neighborhoods with more character, more variety, and you're okay with some streets feeling different than others, then Oceanside's going to be a great pick. Okay, so the last difference between these two are the schools. And most of the families I work with that are absolutely set on Carlsbad, it's almost always because they want their kids in the Carlsbad school district. So it's the third best district in all of San Diego, and almost all the schools K through 12 have an A or an A plus rating. And that's a big difference when you see Oceanside down at number 12. So that's a big reason why Carlsbad home prices are where they're at. Some families want their kids in specific schools and they're willing to pay a premium if they have to. So if schools are your number one make or break, then you gotta go with Carlsbad. All right, guys, I hope this helped you with figuring out which place you like better. So let me know down in the comments what you think, and definitely reach out if you're planning on moving to either of these places or anywhere else in San Diego. Especially if you're not from here, it's super helpful to have someone who knows all the areas and can give you the right guidance and peace of mind. And even if you're not planning on moving right now, it's honestly never too late to start planning. And I get people just like you that reach out to me months in advance. So click the link in the description to schedule a time on my calendar, or you can just call, email, or text me. And if you want more information on Carlsbad and Oceanside, I have dedicated playlists on my channel to both of them, or you can just watch this video right up here. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.